Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you so much for tuning in. Manchester United's hot pursuit of Bruno Fernandes is coming to a conclusion. According to Portuguese media, it is positive news for Manchester United fans. A £50 million deal has been agreed to be paid in instalments. An initial £20 million up front, and then the remaining £30 million will come in instalments over the course of the 5-year contract being signed, of course, by Bruno Fernandes. Personal terms have been agreed. It's a salary in the region of around 95,000 British pounds per week, as I say, over that 5-year deal. That will, of course, include bonuses, image rights, etc. The one area slowing the deal down, fortunately, and this again, according to the media, has nothing to do with Man United and Sporting Lisbon coming to an arrangement and coming to an agreement. It's all stemming from a loan offer that's being made. Man United have offered Lisbon the opportunity to sign a player on loan for the remainder of the season. Lisbon themselves are just debating over what they think they feel and need. Of course, we ain't privy to know who those players are, but I think we could hazard a guess. Players such as Rojo, maybe even a player like Pereira, people that are on the periphery, on the edge of the first team, players that you and I know are not going to be Manchester United players in the space of the next 6 to 18 months, as it were. There could also be the possibility that Sporting Lisbon decline the opportunity to loan anybody. That then may change. That may then change the transfer element slightly. Remember, one thing that needs to be focused on here, Lisbon, of course, are going to try and get a bidding war going on. Lisbon are, of course, going to try to get the price to fly up. Why? Because they're in financial difficulties themselves. We're going to actually touch a little bit later about some of the stories that are now coming out in relation to Bruno Fernandes that demonstrate not just a talented player this young man is, but also the type of character that he is, the loyalty that he has demonstrated to Sporting Lisbon, and why I think that's the right type of player that Manchester United need to be signing. But please do me a big favour. Hit that like button. Please hit the share button as well. I'm going to interact with your live comments. I'm going to jump into some of your live comments right now. First one here from Man Like Mo says, I heard that Matic might get a new deal because of the injuries we have. Potentially. This is the thing. I don't think that's the right move. Man United need to look beyond someone like Nemanja Matic. If there wasn't the injuries and we were to pick up the signings in January, he was someone that I thought was going to leave. But yes, there is that. Comment here says, I love you, Terry. Please shout me out. There you go, Victor. There's your shout out, and I appreciate the kind words. Langy here says, Gomez, Rojo, or Pereira. Look, I don't think Gomez will go out. Gomez could go out on loan. If he point blank refuses to sign a deal, it might be worthwhile Man United loaning him out, giving his salary to somebody else and saying farewell. Rojo is the player that I think it will be. I truly do. From a centre-back point of view, I'd rather give an academy graduate a game if there's injuries. Rojo's not starting in front of Lindelof, Maguire or Tuanzebe if all three of them are fit. So it would make sense to loan him for the remainder of the season and maybe make that deal permanent later on. When do you expect the deal to be announced? For me, look, I don't have any expectations around this. These things will happen when they happen. And what I mean by that is a deal can be moments away from being complete and then an issue would arise. Now, I'm not talking Sporting create an issue, Man United create an issue. There could be a legality problem. There could be an endorsement, as an example, that Bruno Fernandes has. He may be sponsored by a watchmaker in Portugal. I don't know if he is. He may be. There may be an issue with that sponsorship deal and then commitments that Man United have with their watch and timekeeper sponsors that then needs to be ironed out. That then takes solicitors from Man United, that would maybe take solicitors from Bruno Fernandes and the legal teams of both organisations that sponsor the parties to come to an agreement. This very much happened when Manchester United took on Jose Mourinho as manager, as a case in point. He was sponsored by Samsung. there was conflicts and there were conflicts of interest when it came to Man United's mobile phone providers and mobile phone sponsors. And it took about 2 days of legal wrangling to sort out and resolve that issue. There was also a problem with the fact that Chelsea Football Club still had on sale multiple items that included the image of Jose Mourinho. Man United, of course, were buying his, in terms of the image rights deal they were doing, they had to come to a financial arrangement over that. So there are loads of areas that stop clubs from announcing these deals ahead of time. Of course, Sporting, they're doing their best to get as much money as possible as well. I know their manager yesterday said he's considering using Bruno Fernandes in Friday's derby match with Benfica. So there's loads that can still happen between now and it being completed. But in terms of the deal isn't complete yet, but the deal for the player has been done. The financials agreed, £50 million, £20 million up front, the remainder to be paid in instalments over the course of the 5-year contract via amortisation. The deal has been agreed in terms of salary of a figure circa £95,000 sterling per week on a 5-year deal, as we've mentioned, plus bonuses, plus image rights, etc. That information hasn't been transpired, as it were. There is the offering of a loan player in the other direction. Sporting are trying to decide on that. Terry, do you think we'll get Jude Bellingham over the line if we're actually going for him? Potentially we might. Is he someone we're signing to play right now? I don't know, because I don't know enough about the player to say whether I think he's good enough or not. But that could be done in January, absolutely. I won't believe it until I take a trip to England and see him live at Old Trafford. That's from DW. And do you know what, my man? I completely get where you're coming from. I understand it. And a part of me I agree with you. I'm in that kind of train of thought where it's really close to happening. And yes, as a YouTube channel, our job is to attract people to our videos, attract people to this community to discuss it. And the reason I always read out, I can be really negative and not read out what you would consider to be a negative or a bit of a downbeat comment in that way. But I think your comment is real. And we share them because that's the point of the Football Terrace. That is the point of this community. Someone said to me earlier that if the story's trending on Twitter, how is that credible news? The point is, it's not about credible news as such. It's about trending news. It's about gauging the mood on social media platforms around what football fans are thinking and feeling. We go live to give you that voice. One bit of feedback I was given yesterday is we need to start going back to doing more live phone-in shows. So from this week, we are going to try and do at least 3 live phone-in shows per week. The majority will be after football matches, but we will also try and put one in where it's just 2 or 3 topics. You guys can call up and do what you need to do. That is the point. That's why we exist. It's what we're here for. Do me a big favour. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button, hit the share button, and please do me that big favour of subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Let's do some more of your live comments here. I want to read what's being said. Terry, so now United need to negotiate with Bruno after they have agreed the fee with Sporting, so one part of the deal is still left. Well, my understanding is, again, everything I'm telling you is what I've read across multiple reports from multiple outlets. What I've heard is that the deal, in terms of the players' personal terms, have been agreed to. In principle, they can't actually sit down and put the contract in front of the player until after the clubs have finalised their deal. The reason that hasn't been finalised and completed is because Sporting are looking at the option of loaning a player. They may decide they don't want anybody. And then they may want Rojo, and then you've got to sit down and resolve matters there. And it isn't just, okay, they're going to pay 80% of your salary, we'll pay you the rest. It's a case of, okay, where am I going to stay? Let's get cars sorted, mobile phone sorted, let's get this sorted, that sorted. My family need this. My children have nursery. When are we going to do? There's loads for players to sometimes resolve, and these things sometimes take a few days or so. Just on Bruno Fernandes, so I was looking actually the other day. I've got to dip my head a little bit because I've got it on the screen down below here, and I can't get to it without moving this around. But I was looking at this player, right? And a few people were saying, is he good enough for Man United? And I was looking at this yesterday in terms of, this is statistically, but here we go. 32 goals last season, 18 assists. Okay, that's 50 goal contributions in 53 games. This season, it's 13 goals and 13 assists in 24 games. So over the past in the last 2 seasons, that's 18 months of football, as it were, a season and a half of football, he has played like 70 odd games, and it's just behind. He has almost 100% goal contribution ratio to games. As many games as he has played in the past 18 months, he has scored or created a goal in. That is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I don't think he'll maintain that level at Manchester United. One, the Premier League is a tougher league than the Portuguese league. There is no doubt about it. Two, we know I've still got big question marks surrounding our management and our coaching. However, those outputs cannot be denied. Yes, some people say, but some of them goals are penalties. I love it. Scoring penalties has become this, people have become fixated with trying to discount penalties when it comes to people trying to discount and attack a player's ability. But if you watch him playing games, if you watch just highlights of him, if you read scouting reports also, you'll know what a cultured and technically gifted player Bruno Fernandes is. Does that mean he's going to be a success in England? No. There are no guarantees. By the way, United have signed players, and we can talk about other teams, but we'll keep it on United here. We've signed Premier League proven players in the past few years, and they haven't worked out. So there's never a guarantee that a player is going to be brilliant, but there we go. Sporting want cash only, no add-ons. Well, Leslie, they do want cash only, but very few transfers in the history of transfers are done cash up front. Okay, the history, of course, over the last 10 to 15 years when you're talking big money moves, the vast majority are paid via amortization. If it's a £50 million deal, there'll be a set amount agreed to up front, and then there'll be instalment payments, sometimes monthly, sometimes on a yearly basis, that are paid over the course of the contract that player is on. Clubs do this because it's better for them financially. Also, it saves paying out large lump sums of cash. If you do pay cash up front, you tend to sign players cheaper. Man City, over the recent years, have often paid the whole amount outright, so they've been able to get players that little bit cheaper. That's why you sometimes look at City and go, how come you're signing all your players for like 45, 50 millions, and other clubs are signing similar quality players for 60, 70? It's because they're paying a lot of that cash up front. However, when you've got an owner whose family and himself have more money than God, it's easier to do that. But as a general rule, 95% of big money transfers at the elite level in Europe are done in this way. It's not about add-ons. It isn't. So there's no add-ons in this deal. It's not, oh yeah, you're going to only get £50 million if Fernandes scores 50 goals in 2 years and we win the Premier League. That isn't it. It's instalments of that money. That's a general practice. I can't see them letting Pogba go, not even in the summer. I think they need to hold on to him if they are serious about challenging for top spots. It's not about holding on to Pogba in relation to him being good enough or not good enough, about whether the club want to become good enough again to win the title. It's whether or not Paul Pogba wants to be a Manchester United player. If he doesn't, if he wants to leave, holding on to him, for me, is a dangerous thing to do, because you've got a disgruntled player. You have an individual that doesn't want to be there. You have an individual whose mind is elsewhere. How focused are you on the job? Do you know what's interesting? We all know the result. And now this is grassroots football, but the principle remains the same. I interviewed Scully and DT and a few of the players after the final of Blood Brothers last night. And what stood out to me massively, and I didn't talk about this in the lead up to the final because I have to stay Switzerland and neutral, but the one thing I praise DT's team about, from his coaches to himself to the physios, they've gone pro. To every game I turned up to, there were players that weren't even picked for the matchday squads. Everyone's there. Every training session, everybody's there. There is complete dedication. I see other teams where managers don't turn up, owners don't turn up, players barely turning up. Every other team, United Stand, GRM, Hackney Wick, every week there was problems. Players that haven't made the AFTV squad, not turning up on time or not bothering to be there at times. All these types of things. Certain players caring more about their social media presence than actually winning. At grassroots level, it's a problem. It's also a massive, massive, massive problem at the higher end. If you have a player that doesn't really want to be there, if you have a manager whose head's turned and he's looking elsewhere, it rocks the environment at a football club. And forget football, it happens in work, it happens in business. If you go to work every day and your boss don't care, if you go to work every day and there's two people in the office that are they're good people, but they're looking at jobs elsewhere, they're not dedicated to the cause, they can bring the mood down. The best thing, it's why big major companies, when you're at certain levels, put you on gardening leave when you get a new job, as an example. Or you might be made redundant and they put you out to pasture and say, right, you can't get a new job for 6 months, there's some money. Because they don't want you, there's this element of, in the professional world, you can take something away from an organisation. You can lower the mood, you can damage morale, you can get people, he was, Joey was a really integral member of our team. We've been building up this business for the past 2 years, telling our clients that we're the biggest, we're the best, we're the most, we're the best people to come and work with. But yet one of our best performers has just gone to one of our major competitors. How does that make me feel about my business? It's the same difference within sport. So keeping hold of Paul Pogba, keeping someone in there who could be not a negative influence like he's misbehaving, but they might be looking at him thinking, we're all working hard, but he wants to leave. Am I missing something? Should I be here? Should I think about leaving? As opposed to removing the problem, keeping everybody together, keeping everybody moving in the right direction. And that isn't to say Pogba himself is a problem. He's entitled to want to leave. No issue with that at all. But it's about the environment. Terry, do you expect more developments on Bruno Fernandes as the day goes on? You would hope so, but you're only going to get a development if there is a material change. Terry, as a Liverpool fan, I think if Bruno Fernandes does join Man United, Martial will have the Golden Boot season within 2 years. Look, I think Bruno Fernandes will play a part in the likes of Martial getting Golden Boots and Man United winning trophies again. But it's about coaching, it's about systems, it's about patterns. It's about Bruno Fernandes might have the ability to play those cutting passes, to create all those openings. Like we saw from Juan Mata at the weekend. Yes, it was Norwich, but what we saw from Juan Mata is what we need against the bigger teams from Bruno, as well as goals. But you need a pattern and style of play to get there. I still rather have the players than not have them, but I get where you're coming from. Speaking golden boots, I mean, it isn't inconceivable that Rashford could get it this season in a Man United shirt. So let's watch this space. I mean, man's on 14 Premier League goals. Is he 3 or 4 behind top spot? And that can change in the space of a couple of games. I doubt he'll get it. I do doubt that he'll get it because he's not a striker, he's a winger. But there we go. Terry, can you please recap? We will do a quick recap for you. We did have a super chat actually, so thank you very much for that. I'm gonna go. Can I go back and find it? Or have I left it too long? If I have, I'm very sorry. I found it. I found the super chat. Sorry, I need to do it because it's. Oh, there was nothing. That's why I didn't read it. There was nothing connected to it. So recap: Man United have come to a financial agreement. That part of the deal is done with Sporting Lisbon. £50 million, £20 million paid as a lump sum from the beginning. The rest paid via amortisation. And instalments over the next 5 years, which is the length of Bruno Fernandes' contract. The contract is circa 95,000 British sterling pounds per week, again to be paid over the course of the 5 years. Sporting are currently in negotiations amongst themselves about a potential loan deal for a Manchester United player. What they are reporting from Portuguese outlets is the loan deal isn't actually, whether it happens or not, it won't make or break the deal. United are holding off until that's done. Of course, there are some legality issues, sponsorship issues, and technical issues that the solicitors will be working through. As it stands right now, there doesn't appear to be a major issue or any stumbling blocks in Manchester United's way, but things can develop. As I say, Spurs could suddenly come in with a £65 million bid because they desperately want him. Suddenly that changes things. It's why, until all the I's are crossed and the T's are dotted and everything's finalised, Sporting won't sign off and complete the deal because they're in financial difficulty. From Sporting Lisbon's point of view, if suddenly a £65 million deal came in, it's great. The only thing that won't happen is you're not going to see, I don't believe, Bruno Fernandes join anybody but a big Premier League side. He wants to play in the English Premier League. So people asked yesterday, well, why are Barcelona, why are Real Madrid, why are Bayern Munich not interested? Because the player doesn't want to play anywhere other than the Premier League. His preference, we're told, is Manchester United, but he's a professional. He's a professional, meaning if another club comes in and does a better offer for Sporting Lisbon, he will go there. And the reason why you know he'll go there is an article I read today about him. And there's something about Bruno Fernandes I like very much. Two things. One, he was there's a few things. We know that there's been turmoil at Sporting Lisbon over the last few years. They had a mass exodus of players a couple of seasons ago, if we all remember correctly. I don't remember the fine detail, but there was. He stayed because he felt that the club would be in too much of a vulnerable position for him to go as well, because he has a lot of respect for the club. Secondly, he was owed £5 million as a bonus because Sporting Lisbon turned down an offer in the summer. We don't know whether it was Man United or Tottenham or Liverpool. There were the three clubs linked with making a bid for him. He had a buyout clause. That didn't mean that Sporting Lisbon had to accept the transfer bid. It meant if they rejected it, he was owed a £5 million bonus. Because of the financial difficulties at the football club, he refused the £5 million bonus. Then the club offered him a major contract extension, a large increase in salary this year. And they were doing that because they were trying to protect their asset. They were trying to stop him from putting in transfer requests and lowering valuation. He told them that he wouldn't do that to them. He didn't sign the contract extension and increasing salary. He stayed on his current amount, and he said that as long as, now what he's hoping for is a return of that, a kind of return on that loyalty to say, okay, I've been loyal, I've saved you money, I didn't take the pay increase, I've stayed here a couple of extra seasons, please can we negotiate and broker this deal with Man United or Tottenham? We know that it fell down and broke apart in the summer because you wanted more than they were willing to pay. I've done nothing to force that price down. I've equally not cost you I've not cost you an extra £20,000-30,000 per week between the summer and now. Can we get this done? And there's an element of me that really respects Bruno Fernandes for doing that. In the same way that I respected Griezmann when he refused to leave Atletico Madrid when they had their transfer ban. I think it's very, very, I think it's very, very nice to see. I really do. I just like people that are loyal to clubs that have given them that opportunity when there's a problem. I'm not saying every player should be loyal at all times, but because of the financial difficulties they've had, I think it's absolutely brilliant that he did that. Let's do a few more of these comments. Some of the questions asked in here are ridiculous. Terry is just an independent, not connected to any club or player. Sorry, Terry, but true. Pal, how can you answer? What's that? Sorry. Yeah, listen, I mean, some of the questions I don't know the answers to. I'm not involved in this transfer deal. I'm not involved in any transfer deals. I'm really, really not. I'm literally reporting what the media are telling us, and then you can give your opinions on it. I suppose the question I would ask of all of you is, how good a signing do you think this is for Manchester United? My view is this. There's two things that are going to happen when he signs from rival fans. If he's not out of the blocks quickly, if he's not like shit off of a shovel when he comes out the traps in a United shirt, scoring goals, assisting goals instantly, there is going to be flop, 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 ha, 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 flop, flop, flop. That shows you the quality of the player or the anxiety that his signing is creating amongst rivals. Equally, if he does start scoring, if he does start producing, you will see the goalpost moved. It will be, okay, well, who's he scoring against? Or what stages of the games is he scoring? Is he scoring opening goals, equalisers, winners? Or is he getting the third goal of a 4-0 ramping of a team, as an example? And then if he starts to, and this is how you know he's a good player, when he then starts to answer those criticisms, they'll move the goalpost again. Does he do it in the big games? Does he do it in the semi-finals? What trophies has he won you? That's how you know you're signing a good player. So from a Man United fan's point of view, be bulletproof to the criticism when it's instant judgment of the player or continual moving of the goalpost when it comes to the standards of which they're going to hold him to. And I think that for me is what I've seen now. And by the way, this happens in all directions. I see it with Trent Alexander-Arnold all the time. Oh, but he gets defensively this, defensively that, weak there, weak this, weak that, weak this. People love to focus on the negatives or the weak side of a football player as opposed to focusing on the positives, as opposed to saying, actually, that area of his game is brilliant. And I had a Man United fan message me saying that I really like what Rashford's doing, but he still infuriates me in games. I said, what did he infuriate you about? And he said, like, oh, you know, a couple of times a game he'll make the wrong pass or he'll shoot when he shouldn't, and it just annoys me. And my point to him is this. Why are you focusing on those 2 or 3 little negatives and allowing it to bother you? Focus on what he's brilliant at. Focus on the things that he does well, and you just enjoy it more. And I'll take you to this point. Tiger Woods, when he was coming through, I may get what he was good and bad at wrong, but basically, I read somewhere that he wasn't great at getting out of bunkers. So his coach, who was his dad, I believe, at the time, was saying, look, let's spend days and days and days working on your bunker shots to get you better at them. And Tiger's response was this, but I'm barely going to bunkers. I'm so accurate with my driving and with my shots to the green that I'm not worried about going in bunkers. So what I'm going to do is spend extra time practicing on my drives, practicing on my approach shots, so that I don't land in the bunkers, so that I don't have to worry about getting out of them because I'm not going to land in them. I love that mentality. You know, one of my friends growing up, he's an MMA fighter now at Bellator. His name's Michael Venom Page. Fights with his hands down. And for years, when he was coming up through the karate and the kickboxing scene, why are your hands down? If your hands are down, you're going to get caught in the chin, you're going to get knocked out. And his answer's always been the same. So people that fight with their hands up never get knocked out. People that fight like this, protected, that they never get knocked out. They all do. Focus on what you're brilliant at. Make what you're brilliant at absolutely, send it through the stratosphere and focus on that. And I said to the football fans, rivals are going to banter you if he doesn't score in his debut, doesn't score in his second game. But be bulletproof to that. There we go. Let's do your super chat that's come through here. It says, having Bruno would improve the team a lot. Not just on matches, but also on training. Rashford has evidently improved because of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We need more players. Well, you saw. What I would say is this: you saw 2 of Man United's goals came from Juan Mata, brilliant crosses and passes into the box. If you have more players who have the ability to play brilliant passes, brilliant crosses, brilliant through balls, you're going to create more opportunities. When you've got strikers and attackers like Greenwood, like Martial, like Rashford, you're going to score more goals. That's individual moments of brilliance. If we then at some point improve our coaching, or we bring in a better coach and coaching staff with these brilliant players, you'll see an advancement beyond that. And I've watched games recently where, I go back to the Arsenal game, Jesse Lingard, right? Where, you know, he had the ball in a really good position. He only had to play a very simple inside ball to Rashford or to Martial. Not only was he late in attempting it, he couldn't even do it. Now, that's where when you sign better players, you'll improve. There was a moment in the game against City. I think we were 1-0 down at the time. Really good pass from Fred. Cut out 4 or 5 players. Finds, I'm going to say, yeah, it does. It finds Greenwood. Really good control. Holds it up well. A nice cutting pass again. Past a defender and past a midfielder tracking back. It falls to Lingard. Now, Rashford is 5 or 6 foot to the right-hand side of Lingard. He's in acres of space. If he gets the right pass that's, say, a yard in front of him, he can start sprinting onto it. His first touch takes it past the centre-backs. He has a clear opportunity to score. Lingard's got the easiest job of everybody. The pass from Fred was very difficult. Eye of a needle. Finds Greenwood. Greenwood holds it up. He then plays a good pass that cuts out 2 more defensive players that makes it fall to Lingard. Lingard's pass is a 5-6 yard, I wouldn't say a square pass. It's kind of a 30-degree angle. A little bit of pace needed, that's all. Easiest pass. And for a pro footballer, should be a piece of piss. His control's so bad that by the time he tries to make the pass, he's closed down and tackled. That's when Man United need to improve. And someone like Bruno Fernandes, for me, will do that in abundance. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you very, very much as always. There's nearly 2,000 people watching right now. Do me a big favour. Everybody hit that like button for us. Everybody hit this share button for us. If you're not a subscriber of the channel, please hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification button as well. Only 19% of our subscribers have notifications on. That's the one difference between us and some of our competitors. You guys don't know when we go live, and we need more support in that regards. Listen, thank you all. Take care of yourselves. God bless, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.